actually have families that have grown marijuana for 3 generations here. I'm not saying that as a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a factual thing. And it's certainly, some of the conversations I've had with them is when they're in the backseat of my car, going to county jail. Some of the conversations I've had with them is when we're in a restaurant having coffee together. It's a unique place, but I don't think anybody is embarrassed about the history. Some people are embarrassed that we're known for marijuana, but some people are quite proud of that.
My first crop was in 1974. I'm an activist and a producer, cannabis farmer. Well, you're really coming on, Sean.
Yeah, beautiful.
I was raised in the cannabis business. I started dealing when I was 13 years old. We were a black market. That's all there was. There was no regulated market when I grew up. So I was actually a very quiet, old-school outlaw for most of my life. And that was really only about 10 years ago. I was kind of like, I had a lot of people going to prison, I had a lot of patients that couldn't get medicine. I'd survived cancer with it, and I realized as long as people couldn't get the medicine safely and easily, and as long as people were going to jail, that we had to stop. Most of these states want to call it all recreational so they can tax it all. Most cannabis people say it's all medicinal.
For the most part, the federal government has said that if the state law is complied with, that the federal government will not get involved with.
Tom Mom and I get along well. It's a very interesting thing, me coming from traditional being an outlaw and him being a sheriff and having to cross that line. Tom also understands that this is here to stay, that it might as well be done in a regulated market, it might as well be done the right way, so that we can do it properly and get the taxes and income in here. So he's had to really balance a fine line, considering I can ask for best sheriff.
We're trimming ganja, pot, weed, cannabis.
The very best flowers are always going to be trimmed by hand. The machine beats up the bud. It knocks all the keef off, all the resins. It beats up the trichomes. High-end bud isn't really sold with trim machines. You want to get all the big leaf off the flowers so it shows in a beautiful way.
Why do we trim? It's obviously financially motivation because it's not fun work.
They get up and work long hours, 7, 8 in the morning. Really slow trimmers can make as little as $100 a day. Incredible trimmer can make $500 a day.
One of the issues that we have with marijuana involves at the end of the get a high-paying job for tax-free money. Some people call them trimmigrants. Some people just call them homeless people looking for something, free.
Immigrants, they're nasty, disgusting, they smell bad, they're entitled. I'm just talking crap right now. Some of them are really great people. They're usually from foreign.
It's a new home, it's a new life.
We're a small county, so your labor force is really limited for what has to get done. You have to bring the workers in.
The trimmigrants started happening when all of a sudden it was all the people in Europe, South America, and back east started coming in looking for jobs. They were migrating in for that. Really, most people will tell you that the best trimmers are really South Americans and Europeans. People don't want to admit that because they're not legal trimmers. So I've got to say, with me being a public person, I can't really work with them like that, but I've been around enough people to realize it's a very valued commodity. So people over the years find really good people and they keep them. They're musicians, they're artists, they're world travelers, so they can come up and work for 2-3 months, 20 or 30 grand, and then pay for their lives on the road.
Me and 7 of my friends did a 2-month-long road trip across the United States, and our end destination was to come to California to trim. I would love if I made 10 grand. That winter and spring, me and Emma are probably going to go to either Central America. We don't really know yet. We're really just going to go with the flow. We might not know until it happens.
Good people that are trimmers, that's a very high dollar commodity if you're a really master trimmer, because slow trimmers are going to go through a half a pound to a pound a day and are really...
No, I'm really good at this. I like to brag. That's a 4.5 hour pound. People dream of that.
The good trimmers, they're in high demand, and they make probably the most out of the whole crop for a short amount of time.
A lot of people can't sit for 6 hours, say the speak of 12. So if they do $200 a day and they work for 5 days and they take 2 days off, that's about the average.
So how much do you think you could make?
I think 15 grand. That's about $2,200 a week. Which divided by 7 is $300 a day. Yeah. About $300 to $400 a day is about what I can reasonably make. There's sometimes I'll come into work here at 8 a.m. It'll be midnight when I leave. And I'll only get up for lunch meals, which means cooking. And while I'm cooking, I'll come back and work. And then I'll eat right here. I may go outside, stretch my legs for 15 minutes at most when you're really feeling it, or your back. Because I'm not only trimming, I'm also managing. They rely on me to keep an eye on the other trimmers that they're doing the job correctly. We don't have like theft concerns here, but we sometimes have inexperience issues. And Tim Blake depends on me to keep it.
Cut a little less close, but at least you're cutting close.
We call ourselves like the Champagne district of marijuana, as in high-end, expensive, boutique. Anyone else will argue like they grow better pot than we do, but they don't. And you can't just throw a premium product through a machine and destroy it. It takes someone like me who had some experience, then it's ruined. Okay, not looking.
We like the Ray Charles trimming.
It's kind of a fail on this that. Almost a pass.
I've known him for years and years. I've known Bijma for many years. And I know him and trust him well.
I met Tim before I knew he was a weed grower, a pot grower, cannabis farmer. Let's go cannabis farmer. But I met Tim and I was like, can I work for you this year? I don't have a job yet.
He's an American, but he lives in Lithuania. He's interesting. He lives in Lithuania, and he's got a family there. But I know him from family in town, and his mom and stuff. So he's really like a trimmigrant foreigner traveler, but he's American.
I live in Willits when I'm working here in the summer, and in the winter.
For 8 months of the year, and then come back.
This is trimmer's paradise when you get these big fat buds. So they weigh a lot and they cut clean. First, I lock off any big leaf that's left real fast. They're pretty easy to find. They all stick out. This 5 gram bud I did in about 15 seconds, which is pretty good when you're going for a gram a minute.
Do you think if it does become more legal, like recreationally or federally, it could hurt the trimming business?
People 21 and older will soon be able to smoke recreational marijuana here in California. Voters approved Proposition 64. Nearly 5 million voters said yes to Prop 64, creating the largest market for marijuana products in the U.S.
I don't think we're going to get paid as much as we used to because taxes are coming in now. We never had taxes before, ever. Nothing.
People got paid through trade, so trimmers would just get paid in their medicine and they'd go out and sell it or hustle to do whatever they want to do with it. Now they're wanting us to pay through 1099s or through straight salary. Trimmers, when they're getting $200 a pound off a $4,000 a pound, that makes sense. Trimmers getting $150 to $200 off a pound that's selling for it. They're coming in for one day to trim it. You know, Mike's in here, it spends 6 months growing this, and he's making $200 or $300 a pound off this. And he's looking at a trimmer that's coming in and making $150 to $200. It's nonsensical.
We're going to be getting checks this time, and it's self-declared like through the labor board, California Labor Board this year. It's interesting. The wages have already gone down from $200 a pound, $225 a pound, to $150 a pound, to machines and paying people $20 an hour to run machines.
Just like what America saw during the Industrial Revolution, you know, remember when the cotton gin was invented and it changed the whole mechanism of picking cotton and so forth. There's actually machines now that trim marijuana.
When this is down in the Bay Area, so trimmers can just drive from their houses and come over, then all of a sudden the farmer doesn't have to take care of them, they don't have to feed them. This is a normal job. And so what you're going to see is you're going to see much more of this being shipped to the Bay Area and processed down there.
I don't think that there's fewer and fewer trimmigrants coming to our county, but they're not getting jobs like they used to.
I hope this is my last year, but I say that the last every year, of course. Because like I said, it's a good job, it pays well, but I'm not in love with it. I'm a chef. I'd rather be cooking, doing parties all year, but I'm a summer party chef. And it's not summer anymore. Parties are over.
I feel like the trimmers have had the best job ever. They should be really thankful and grateful for what they've gotten and realize how fast it's going to change. The reason why it hasn't changed that quick is because there's still so much being grown and there's not enough trimmers. But as more of it goes to concentrates and more of it gets trimmed with trim machines, then they're going to have competition. It's going to be the end of the gold rush for trimmers.
It's unprecedented. ABC News honored winner for the third straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence in television and radio. Every show, every screen, every platform honored. Thank you for making ABC News America's #1 news choice. Okay, first the People's Choice Award for favorite team, then the Emmy Award for outstanding morning program. Yes, we're honored. Most importantly, we love starting our days together with you. Thanks for making GMA America's #1 most watched morning show. The people have spoken, and we thank you, America, for choosing us as your favorite daytime hosting team with the People's Choice Award. We are GMA, and we thank you.
Roseanne star Laurie Metcalf is known for her illustrious television career, but it's the stage where she says she feels most at home. She spoke to us about her new role on Broadway in a revival of Roseanne. Here again is ABC's David Wright.
Here's where I live, right here.
She's home again, back on Broadway, and up for a Tony Award this Sunday. Actress Laurie Metcalf, famous for creating comedic gold without even saying a word.
And if you cause a scandal, he won't be able to marry me, and there goes my future gone. And then see this? ... That's where I do my thing.
Do you practice in front of the mirror?
No.
How does it work?
No. I guess what I feel just comes out a lot in my face. I guess. Something was leaving.
Metcalf is putting those skills to use, reprising an iconic role in A Doll's House Part 2 on Broadway and in the upcoming revival of The Roseanne Show on ABC.
Is this the sink? Am I shrinking?
She played Roseanne's sister Jackie for 9 seasons, winning 3 Emmy Awards. The politically charged series about a working-class family is coming back next year. I can't help but wonder if they're Trump voters.
I don't know. There might be 1 or 2 in the mix.
The surprise announcement of the Roseanne revival featured the cast reunited on that couch at this year's season preview.
The Roseanne reboot is going to be huge. I hope we do it proud. This thing, it doesn't get any better than to be doing a show on Broadway.
Metcalf has been busy since Roseanne ended its run. She played Andy's mom in the Toy Story movies.
Andy, let's go. Molly's already in her car seat.
And Sheldon's mom on Big Bang Theory.
To your room.
But it's in the theater that she feels most at home.
He and I are still married. Did you know? No.
This is her 4th Tony nomination.
This is my comfort zone here. Film and TV is, I feel, a little self-conscious.
You got 3 Emmy Awards already. Sunday, fingers crossed. So just a Grammy and an Oscar.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not going to happen.
The role of Nora in A Doll's House is one of the iconic roles in all of theater.
I don't love you anymore.
A Doll's House is Henrik Ibsen's most famous play, adapted for the screen many times.
Look, here's your ring back.
A domestic tragedy about a woman who gradually realizes she can no longer bear to stay in her sham of a marriage.
Goodbye, Tom.
She's an iconic feminist character, a Victorian-era woman who leaves her suffocating marriage and her 3 children and walks out the door.
Yes. Hold on, I'm coming! Part 2 opens with a knock on the door. There's been 15 years of complete silence from her. The family doesn't know what has become of her. And you also don't know when she shows up what she's been doing to provide for herself.
The Nora in Lucas Nath's Part 2 is financially independent and happily liberated. She's made her own way in the world.
Yes.
And yet this decision came at a huge cost.
Yes.
For her and for everyone else.
Yes. She has to deal with that as she meets each character one by one in the show.
15 years of therapy packed into an hour-and-a-half play. As she puts it, plays like a round-robin boxing match on marriage and motherhood.
And then I come over here and I would say, yes, we want to be intimate with another person, to know that person, love them. Why does there have to be a marriage to do that? Why does it have to be with just one person? And for the rest of your life, it seems so sad. Standing right here. And we know that it's sad. We know it.
You're right. It is like a boxing ring.
It is, right? Yeah. We need the ding, between scenes.
You want me to fix this too? Is that what you're really saying? You, Nora! You!
The language, salty. The emotions, direct. The situation, entirely modern.
It's fun to do a comedy. I'll call it a comedy. It's a dramedy, maybe. There's a lot of comedy in it.
A comedy. Now, the Roseanne revival promises a similar rich vein to mine.
We're going to go back to the same house where the Connors lived and the same couch.
The same couch still exists?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
The world has changed a lot since 1997, but the comedy of that working-class family in the heartland, timeless. Remember the dad's dead scene?
He's passed away! Dad is gone! Dad's dead!
I'll tell you something interesting about that little clip there. It was written by Norm Macdonald.
Really?
Norm was a writer that season. Yeah. And he wrote that little monologue.
And then she ends up saying,
He's fine.
He's fine! He sends his love!
the show, never shy of tackling big issues of the day.
That it's time for me to get some birth control.
And in the Trump era, the writers will have plenty of new opportunities and challenges. The series finale, there are some complications there.
There's
right?
complications.
Kills off John Goodman.
Yes, and we were millionaires.
Having won the lottery.
Yeah.
And she outed you as being gay.
And I don't know how any of that's going to be dealt with.
No idea.
I don't know. No, I don't. Roseanne will find a way. I can't wait to read the first one.
I'm David Wright from Nightline in New York.
First at the door when it matters most. From all across the globe to every corner here at home. He asks, he listens. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. David Muir, covering our world. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. More Americans are now watching World News Tonight than in a decade. And we thank you. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir. He reports to you. Okay, first the People's Choice Award for Favorite Team, then the Emmy Award for Outstanding Morning Program. Yes, we're honored, and most importantly, we love starting our days together with you. Thanks for making GMA America's #1 most watched morning show. The people have spoken, and we thank you, America, for choosing us as your favorite daytime hosting team with the People's Choice Award. We are GMA, and we thank you.
It's Friday night. The lights, the band, and the entire town is out to see the Toros. Welcome to Spanish Fort, Alabama. Population 8,000. Located just east of Mobile Bay. Once the site of one of the last Civil War battles. It will later be the site of a different kind of battle.
Very small, close community in town. So like everyone kind of knows everyone.
A very tight-knit community focused on family, centered on very good schools.
Bible Belt Church has made God a small, affluent community. But here, football is religion.
In Spanish Fort, football is no longer a sport, it's a lifestyle. You live, eat, sleep, breathe football.
No wonder its high school players are celebrated as heroes, says journalist Cassie Fambro.
People love to see them and recognize them in the community, and I would say they're local celebrities.
And starring in his own highlight reel, running back Cameron Harrison, senior, 5'7", 180 pounds, wearing number 4.
Harrison, boys, been fun to watch over the past couple years.
Yeah, he's tough to line break. He's small, but he's big. He's hard to bring down. That's one of his advantages. He's tough.
Among those cheering in the crowd, the new girl in class, 16-year-old Savannah.
I am funny, independent, goofy, very goofy, have a lot of love in my heart.
Among the things she loves, what you'd expect. Makeup, social media, and selfies. Lots and lots of selfies. But for the one-time choir girl, singing in church with her dad, adolescence brought on some big changes, moving from the only private school she ever knew to unfamiliar terrain, public high school.
I cried. I said, I don't want to move, but I didn't have a choice. So
Really?
I had been at a school from 2nd grade to 9th grade. I loved where I was. I was from the country. There, it's so laid back and small.
How was the adjustment for Savannah to high school?
It was an eye-opener for her.
I think it was a huge culture shock.
It was a culture shock. I remember one time she called me. She's like, I don't think I can do this.
Emily and Joe, Savannah's parents, were high school sweethearts, married by age 20. He a Marine at Camp Lejeune, she a college student studying business.
What were your hopes back then?
Have a family and have a story.
But their family story, the kind every parent of a teenage girl fears, begins on an unseasonably warm October night in 2015. It's Joe and Emily's 18th wedding anniversary. They're enjoying a rare night away from their 4 kids, celebrating with a romantic weekend in New York City. But meanwhile, back in Alabama, another celebration, an 18th birthday party for one of the Spanish Ford seniors.
How did this party come about?
Everyone was texting about it.
Haley and Allie, popular high school seniors, say word spreads like wildfire, even to those outside their usual clique.
This was a little bit bigger, and it's lots of different kind of people all mingling together.
It was not a typical weekend party. I mean, it was probably like one of the biggest parties I've ever been to in Spanish Fort.
Savannah, too, hears about the party and begs her parents, long distance, for permission.
I had the ACT Saturday morning, and the party was Saturday night.
It's like blow off some steam.
Some steam.
Yeah. You were on the phone with her, and what did she say?
She said, Mom, may I go to a birthday party tonight? And I said, why don't you just stay home, just listen to your inner voice? For some reason, I wanted her to stay home.
Mom's intuition on this fateful night gave way to a daughter's desperate desire to fit in.
Me being pushy, and finally she was like, okay.
A tale of 2 photos illustrate in real time different nights for mother and daughter. A night out for the parents, while Savannah is seen on Snapchat getting glammed up. With her, a friend. And guess who she knows? Cameron Harrison, that high school football star. They pregame at his house, the 2 girls taking this pic in his room.
Did you know Cameron Harrison at all?
I knew of him. We had math together. I had never come out with him or anything.
What did you hear about him?
He was just a short little cracker, just a fireball, just kind of crazy.
And speaking of fireball, the booze brought by the kids flowing freely later that night at this ordinary 2-story, 4-bedroom, mustard-colored house overlooking the Timber Creek Golf Course. Now, act like a nightclub.
So how many people were at the party?
Probably 40 at one point.
Make that 41. The birthday boy's 58-year-old grandmother was home, but watching TV upstairs in her bedroom.
We walked in, and I would say it was a very, maybe hyped would be the word. And there was rap music playing, and there was hair slinging and arms flailing, and you were just going wow.
It was hectic. There were people running around, dancing, beer pong, playing video games on TV.
The drinks were flowing?
Yeah, the drinks were flowing.
Hayden, a senior football player, recalls playing beer pong with Savannah and his teammate Cameron.
She was just staring him down, giving him that look. And I told him, I was like, all right, she obviously wants it. And he was like, I know, I can tell.
You had some interest in this guy. I saw you roll your eyes. Why?
He always said to my friends, I would never with him. He's a nice guy, but no.
40 underage teenagers partying, drinking, saying, turn down for what?
What were you drinking?
Smirnoff. I had about 2 of those before I got there, and then I had 3 or 4 beers, and then 4 double shots of Fireball. It was all under an hour that I drank this much.
Others quickly took notice.
I first saw her on the couch, and one of her friends was pouring a little alcohol in her mouth, and she was just dancing around, having a fun time and stuff.
She didn't look like she was completely wasted. No. She was conscious, walking around, having a good time, not stumbling. I couldn't say she might have been able to walk in a straight line, but I don't think most of the people there could have at that point anyway.
These photos posted on Snapchat may allow us to peer into Savannah Saturday night. But what they don't show, she says, are the effects of all that alcohol. She says she remembers feeling dizzy, but that's about all.
What's the last thing you remember?
last thing that I remember is standing in the kitchen with everybody, singing happy birthday.
This is cell phone video of that moment obtained by 2020.
It's like I wasn't even in my body. Like, it's like my head was telling me, like, something's not right. But I just, like, I could feel myself kind of fading out, like, you know, from having control of myself. But that's the last thing I remember was standing there with everybody.
Savannah may not remember, but her friends do.
At one point, Savannah had accidentally knocked over a glass. She looked like something was wrong.
If it's October, it means the Spanish Fort Toros are in familiar territory. Their opponent's end zone, closing in on another Alabama state championship. But 16-year-old Savannah is out of her league. Evident to those at the party that she may have had a few too many.
She's kind of just like going crazy, like walking around.
Watching from across the room, Savannah's close friend, who asked that we call her Jessica.
She's drunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing?
All of a sudden, I see someone carrying her up the stairs. With probably 4 people that were carrying her up the stairs like she was a doll, basically. Like, they just like each had like a limb, and I was like, "What the heck? When did this happen?" I just saw her like on the couch.
But just like the booze, there's something else that's ubiquitous at your typical teenage rager: cell phones. This is an image of Savannah being carried upstairs. It will later play a big part in trying to determine what occurred that night. Taylor is one of those teens who helped carry Savannah.
We were all just laughing, you know, making a joke out of it because it was funny, you know. Everyone had been drinking and we're carrying Savannah up, and Savannah's pretty tall and we're all kind of short. So we were kind of struggling.
She says they did it so Savannah could lie down and sleep it off.
Do you remember being carried upstairs?
It's like I could hear things. My eyes were shut. Like I could just hear everything. I just didn't feel with it at all.
At that point, the popular seniors, newly 18, decide to leave, wanting to take the party across the bay to a club in nearby Mobile.
We're like, Cameron, you coming? He was like, no, I can't get in any trouble tonight. I'm just going to stay here.
Wary of trouble, because remember, Cameron Harrison is a standout senior whose football team is undefeated and entering the playoffs. Also staying behind, Savannah. And depending on who you talk to, you get conflicting reports on her state of mind.
Whenever we were about to leave, it's whenever I saw her being carried and stuff. She was laughing.
So you saw her being carried up the stairs?
Yeah, she's like, no, I want to go back downstairs.
Once upstairs, Savannah gets sick in the bathroom. That grandma makes a brief appearance, handing her a towel. Friend Jessica says when she went upstairs, Savannah was barely coherent.
She was just laid on the bed with like her eyes closed. She was just like, like I couldn't really like make out what she was saying.
Tell me, when she's saying that to you, is she unconscious at that point?
Like she wasn't fully conscious, but she wasn't fully unconscious at that point. She was probably like in between there. She'd be like, she sounded like a zombie.
Slurring it out?
Yeah, definitely slurring. But it was after that is when I noticed like she was out. She wasn't saying anything.
Jessica says she left Savannah in the upstairs bedroom to nap. But when she returned to check on her about 15 minutes later, the door was locked.
I was banging on the door and I was like, what's going on? Like, why is the door locked? And I couldn't hear anything in there. And the light was off. And I remember leaving when the light was on.
She doesn't hear anything. But Cameron's teammate, Hayden, also at the door, says he hears Savannah making sounds from inside the bedroom.
I heard her moaning. I could hear sex noises.
Eventually, the door opens, and Jessica is shocked by what she sees.
So Cameron like cracks the door open, and he's like completely naked. And I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Half her body's on the bed with like her arms back, and then like half her body's like draped off the bed.
Did she have any clothes on?
She had no clothes on. She was completely naked. I started like yelling at Cameron. I was like, what are you doing? Like, she's obviously not okay right now. Like, what are you, like, why would you do that? And he was like, she wanted me to. She said she wanted me to.
Did it seem like she was completely out of it?
Yes, completely out of it. I mean, she couldn't even move.
Couldn't move, but Jessica says Savannah did speak. And what she said would be crucial to the case.
She said, just leave me here. I was mad because she said that that's when I left.
When Jessica goes back upstairs, another 10, 15 minutes later, she sees Savannah disheveled, no bra, and her clothes backwards and inside out.
She was slumped over the toilet, throwing up, and she threw so much. Like, I was at least 20 times that night. She kept throwing up.
Wow.
Everywhere.
And she says Cameron, nowhere in sight. Turns out he's back downstairs at the party, taking smiling snaps. No hint of potential wrongdoing.
Do you remember Cameron Harrison ever being in that room with you?
No.
It's approaching midnight, and on the ride home, friend Taylor says that's when Savannah whispered a secret to her.
I asked her, are you okay? And she told me, I think I had sex with Cameron.
With a sickly Savannah in the back seat, it is Jessica taking responsibility for her friend, racing home before curfew.
Are you thinking, man, this girl might be in serious trouble? She might have to go to the hospital right now.
I mean, I wanted to take her there, but she would just start screaming. She's like, no. And she's still drunk at that point, but she would try her best to be like, no, you can't do that.
With their parents asleep, Jessica sneaks the two of them in through the side door. Savannah still vomiting.
She was still like shaking. She was like white. I put so many blankets on her, and she kept on saying like, I'm so cold, like it just felt like she was like in like a freezer.
For 2 hours, Jessica stood watch over her intoxicated friend. Looking in the mirror never used to bother 16-year-old Savannah. She's young, pretty, confident. But the reflection she saw the morning of October 25th, 2015 was downright horrifying.
My face was sunken in. I had bruised hickeys all down my neck. I just started crying because I just felt so disgusted with myself.
Disgusted because Savannah's Saturday night was a dangerous one, full of beer, liquor, and fireball shots.
I felt like I was that drunk girl at the party. I knew everyone was gonna just talk about it.
But she is about to learn from her friend it wasn't just alcohol.
And she said, you and Cameron had sex. She was really messed up. And I said, I don't remember that.
Savannah makes her friend promise not to mention it again. Just pretend like it never happened.
So at that point, you were thinking, I want this to go away.
Yes. I was still kind of new, and he was who he was. So I knew it'd be pointless to try and say something.
At that point, how did you define what he did?
I just felt taken advantage of.
Did you feel like it was rape?
Honestly, at the time, no, I did not.
Savannah goes to school Monday morning, hoping her weekend secret is safe. But it's already too late. Rumors are swirling all over Spanish Fort High.
It started going around the school that Savannah was raped. So the word's out. People were talking about it.
Savannah tries to keep her head down until she bumps into the man of that infamous hour, Cameron Harrison.
He kind of dodged me, wouldn't look at me, just kind of kept going his way. So.
Did you want to speak to him?
Not really, no. I just felt like it was too, honestly, awkward and uncomfortable.
During design class, Savannah gets with Taylor and a couple of other friends to discuss what happened between her and Cameron.
She kept saying he just took advantage of the situation. We had both been drinking.
At that time, how would you have defined rape?
Brutal, holding tied down, gun your head, just very violent. That's what I thought it was.
The girls tell Savannah she's wrong. And soon they start Googling the definition of rape, right there in class. Unbeknownst to them, their teacher overhears them, and Savannah is sent to the guidance counselor.
They're like, we've heard about this party Saturday night. You talk about it, and I kind of just broke down, I guess. I felt like I'd been, taken advantage of.
They summon her mother, Emily, to the school.
And I walk in and I see my daughter in the corner, balled up in a fetal position with mascara running.
What did she tell you?
That she had been raped or sexually assaulted. And I got mad. That was my first reaction, was I was just angry.
Emily and her husband Joe say they went through a range of emotions. First, disappointment in their daughter, but then outrage.
Somebody can say, well, she shouldn't have got so drunk. Yeah, I get that. No, she shouldn't have. Okay? I don't care what she was wearing. I don't care what much she drank. I don't care if she was doing drugs. It doesn't matter. Nobody has a right to take something that's not theirs. That's the bottom line, period.
To us, it was black and white.
But for Savannah, it's a little more gray. She's waffling between damning and defending Cameron. Even texting a friend, I feel so awful, Taylor. Cameron and everyone is going to hate me. I never wanted it to get to this point. It's all getting back to Cameron, whose friends, hearing the vicious rumors, tell him he needs to set the record straight.
I was like, you need to go, you need to make sure that you tell people like the truth, like, because if that's not what happened, then that's not what needs to be said.
For his next play, Cameron, on the advice of a teacher, decides to go on offense.
Somehow he found out Savannah's parents thought that they had sex and accused him of rape. And so he, being the gentleman that he was, wanted to apologize, wanted to make it right.
He may want to make it right, but he's about to make it worse. Believe it or not, Cameron goes to visit Savannah's father, the former Marine, to tell him the sex he had with his daughter was consensual.
That's the guy. He's outside. He's walking up to our house right now. Joe, what did you say?
My immediate reaction when he pulled up was violence. I am fixing to clear this porch off with his kid. I didn't say a word. I let him speak.
He said, I know y'all are hurting, Savannah's hurting, but I'm hurting too.
His body language was bizarre.
Because he was so calm,
Just
so ice cold. Just Joe and I were both shaking.
And he made a huge admission to you.
He only did our daughter for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes.
And he said those words to you. Did it take everything in you to not want to lash out at him?
I told him to get the off my property.
In a very Christian-like way.
That very day, Emily and Joe called the authorities, and veteran detective Jason Benoit is assigned. He wastes no time.
Just because with kids and teenagers, allegiances can change, stories can change. I kind of want to talk to everybody I can as quick as I can.
After speaking to Savannah and her mother, he begins to interview students, about a dozen in all. They tell a consistent story about Savannah becoming what they called sloppy drunk. Then Detective Benoit inevitably discovers this. Cell phone video taken at the party.
The video showed the young people carrying the victim across the house and to the stairway.
What did you think when you saw that video?
I took a long, hard look at it several times and was mainly focusing on the condition of the victim. Her body was limp. At one point, she had her arm draped over her face. She was just like a wet rag.
Just a few precious seconds, but for a seasoned investigator, oh so revealing.
It's real-time, footage taken at the party, showing the condition of the victim.
How important is this video to your case?
In my mind, this video took this case way beyond probable cause to make an arrest.
18-year-old Cameron Harrison,
The Spanish Fort football player accused of rape.
at a house party in Daphne.
A week after the party, Cameron Harrison is charged with first-degree rape, sparking the media frenzy.
A charge of rape, a shocked and divided community.
When his friends see him in court the next day, now clad in a new uniform, they are beside themselves.
It was definitely a slap of reality.
My best friend walking down the hallway with a bunch of criminals in a orange jumpsuit and shackles on. And cameras all in his face.
And I just hard to see your friend like that.
You go from a little small town kid playing football to a national media crisis.
Cameron, what really happened at that party?
Cameron pleads not guilty. He's released on bond, but placed on house arrest, suspended from the football team, and forced to take his classes online. The next night is the Toros' first playoff game. They will have to do it without Cameron, the star running back.
But what was going through the team's mind of us in the student section and the football team did everything we could to let Cameron know in spirit that he was there with us, that we wanted him there. So we put fours everywhere.
Number 4, Cameron's jersey, plastered in the stands and on social media. A public outpouring of support, and not just from boys. Toros Forever read this banner. Girls wrote 4s on their wrists, and even a number 4 on the quarterback's towel.
We wanted it to be known that we supported our friend. We would never in any way bully, but that's the way it was taken.
For Savannah, the display instantly visible on social media, it feels like she's become the town pariah.
How did all of this strike you?
Really just bothered me. It's kind of evil.
It's not something that I would expect from Cameron Harrison in any way, shape, or form.
She didn't do anything wrong, and she is being punished more than he is.
The drama between 2 Spanish Fort, Alabama high school students, Savannah and football player Cameron Harrison, divided the town. Cassie Fambro wrote for the local news site, AL.com.
There was just such a stark divide. There was people who believed Savannah, and there was the people who thought this was a witch hunt, that Cameron Harrison was unfairly portrayed as a criminal rapist.
About 24 Spanish Fort high school students defending him.
But while Cameron's supporters were loud and proud, he was tight-lipped, never speaking in public or to the police.
No comment.
But he did speak to this woman, private investigator Alicia McWhorter, hired by Cameron's mom to gather intel.
What was his state of mind like? What was he like?
He was in a state of hyper-awareness that he was under a microscope and he needed to get the truth out.
She says Cameron recounts a familiar tale of booze, beer pong, and all-out blowout. But new details emerge. He claims after Savannah was carried up the stairs, he ended up in the bathroom with her, and that's when a familiar face enters. Kennedy, that girl who came to the party with Savannah.
Cameron states that Kennedy grabbed his face and kissed him, and then Savannah grabbed his face and kissed him, and then they moved into the bedroom. And at some point, Kennedy gets up and leaves the room.
Kennedy denies that she, Cameron, and Savannah were kissing each other at the same time.
Cameron says it happened. Kennedy states it didn't. We're at an impasse on that.
And Cameron says he and Savannah are still not alone in that bedroom. There are others, and she tells them to leave.
Cameron told me that the alleged victim said, "Get the F out," and told another person, "I'm going to F him."
Granted, this private investigator is being paid by Cameron's family, but listen to what 2 others told Detective Manoy.
They heard the victim say, "F me, Cam."
But remember, the booze was flowing, and memories hazy. They can't agree on who was in the room.
Did you have consensual sex with Cameron Harrison?
If I was in the condition I'm right now, I would not have sex with Cameron.
And what about that controversial statement Cameron allegedly made to her father?
I only did it for a few minutes.
Cameron clearly stated to me that he did not say that.
How do you know what to believe?
I can tell you that Cameron's story was believable, and I do believe that the young woman consumed alcohol that may or may not have impeded her ability to remember exactly everything that happened.
So in your mind, she could have given consent, simply not remembered it.
Yes, I believe that. I do not believe she was passed out. No one saw her passed out.
Not passed out is key, because the charge against Cameron is that Savannah couldn't consent because she was either physically helpless or mentally incapacitated.
The question all comes back to, what was she capable of doing at that moment?
Savannah says she becomes the victim of cyberbullying, and not just from classmates, but from their parents too.
It's hard enough, kids my age, doing these things, but when it's an adult, that just hits a new nerve to me.
And then one night, she's awoken to a loud bang.
A large cement chunk of just rock brick about this big shattered her window.
The DA says the latest potentially dangerous attack crossed the line.
And then, Savannah says, one by one, many of her friends publicly turned their back on her.
I think their social life was more important to them than, supporting me.
With their daughter isolated and outcast, Savannah's parents offered to move schools.
I said, no, you're not going to run me out.
You wanted to stay.
I wanted to stay. To prove a point. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to show them I didn't make it through like first period.
Why not?
Everyone was staring at me like I was the devil, like just giving me a look of disgust.
Savannah toughs it out for 6 months before the family decides to sell their home and move out of Spanish Fort.
I deserve to feel happy again. It's not, that they got to me. It's just that I deserve a fresh start.
Now, it's Savannah's turn to strike back, not even waiting for a trial. Armed with her cell phone, she decides to go public, blogging about her reality and how society has it backwards when it comes to sexual assault.
We teach don't get raped instead of don't rape. Does anybody else not see a problem with this?
Why did you decide to start blogging?
I wanted to have a voice. If you see a girl who's clearly been drinking and to the point of passing out, you help her.
Next, the case is headed for court. Both sides brace for battle.
We don't expect to lose this case. Cameron Harrison also has the right to be publicly exonerated and publicly vindicated for a false allegation.
You cannot rape an unconscious girl. It doesn't matter if you're a high school athlete star. You cannot do this.
But could Savannah's own words come back to haunt her?
There was a blatant text saying, "You did not rape."
They say Snapchat disappear. Not this one. Savannah is trying to make a fresh start. New surroundings, new perspective.
I love film, writing, photography, art. Life in itself makes me happy.
But there is a piece of her past that threatens to undo the entire case against her alleged assailant, 18-year-old Cameron Harrison. He shows authorities a bombshell, a Snapchat message Savannah sent him 2 days after the party. And here's what it says. "You didn't rape me. I mean, you took advantage of me, but I forgive you, and I know you were drunk." It's a huge break for Cameron's defense. And for his buddies, it reinforces what they believed all along.
There was a blatant text saying from her to Cameron, "You did not rape me." But that should have ended it. That's the bottom line. She admitted that he didn't.
If she said you did not rape her, we know that you didn't rape her. Like, she said it. She told him that.
This Snapchat she sends, "Hey, I know you didn't rape me."
That just goes to show that she didn't know the meaning of rape.
Savannah says the message was part of a larger conversation initiated by him. But only a snippet was saved by Cameron.
Well, the selling point to Snapchat, the reason that it's popular is if you don't screenshot it and save it, it's gone.
And the breaks keep coming for Cameron. Remember that video of Savannah being carried upstairs? His defense attorney claims to have found more of it. This additional frame where Savannah appears awake, smiling.
The defense seems to say that there's another second in that where she's smiling. What's your impression of that?
Unconscious people can make all kinds of facial expressions and they can have their eyes open. My position is that she's physically helpless. That is very much bolstered by the fact that she's having to be carried.
Two key pieces of evidence, but both sides saying it proves their case.
Her smiling doesn't necessarily mean this was not a rape. But as jurors evaluate the case and have to decide, is it proof beyond a reasonable doubt, every little factor becomes relevant.
But that's little comfort to Cameron as he awaits trial. The past 6 months, these four walls have become Cameron's closest companions. Now, only photos providing a peek at the life he once enjoyed.
This is my senior banner. All those senior football players got one this year. It says running back, Cameron Harrison. All my friends made this for me.
Cameron showing us this window into a life seemingly put on perma-hold.
I'm blessed to have so much support from all my friends and family.
Trapped by a dark cloud above him, and that device around his ankle, monitoring his movements.
How far, Cameron, are you allowed to go?
I can go to across the street over there.
Ironically, the former running back's world is now limited to the length of a football field, 100 yards. His mom, Karen.
We just deal with days as they come through, and our love grows stronger every day. And we're going to make it through this. Come on in, baby.
How you doing?
Good.
Suddenly, throngs of kids begin to arrive. Cameron's classmates. It's graduation day.
Cameron not being able to walk with us definitely, kind of makes me a little heartbroken. My best friend.
They don caps and gowns for a makeshift ceremony.
Oh, no, you don't have your tassel? There's one in the kitchen. Oh, good Lord. Go get it. Hey, Garrett. It is a big deal.
While the future appears bright for them, Cameron's is still unknown. He's facing the possibility of 10 years to life for rape. And District Attorney Hallie Dixon is showing no signs of mercy. Local hero though he may be.
Do football players get a free pass?
Absolutely not. Not as long as we're prosecuting these cases. They will not get a free pass.
So for you, there's no question Cameron Harrison is a rapist.
There's no question. I'm not saying that he is this evil human being. I am saying what he did was wrong.
When we come back, Cameron Harrison's day in court is coming.
We did everything we could to block the camera crews.
Savannah braces for a face-to-face showdown.
He did wrong. Every choice has a consequence.
After 18 grueling months, it was supposed to be Judgment Day. The stage was set. Cameron Harrison and Savannah face to face. Both lives irreparably and forever changed. But something else has changed here in Baldwin County since that infamous house party. That brash District Attorney Hallie Dixon decides not to seek re-election, and a new DA takes a fresh look at the case. And just weeks ago, on the eve of Cameron's trial, a stunner.
Tonight, Cameron Harrison has been granted youthful offender status.
Youthful offender status.
Cameron Harrison takes a plea deal under youthful offender status. The terms and conditions of the deal, all settled in secrecy.
It allows the proceeding to be treated sort of like a juvenile proceeding, meaning everything gets sealed, the public doesn't find out what happens, it eventually gets erased from the record.
Now, nothing about the case is public.
All we know tonight is that Cameron is not in jail. An outcome agreed to by both sides.
The key when thinking about why was a deal cut is to look to the alleged victim. Was that because she was pressured by the DA? Who knows? Was it because she didn't want to testify? It's a smart move for the defendant. If he can not serve time, get treated as a youthful offender.
Cameron and his family were scheduled to do an interview with us. However, part of that plea agreement prevented both sides from talking further about the case.
It's not really a resolution at all. Those people who look at him as a criminal or her as a liar, they're never going to be dissuaded because there's no real conclusion.
For many, the case ending just like it started, in a fog.
What happened behind that locked door will stay behind that locked door.
The reminder for parents is underage drinking and limited supervision can lead to some pretty dangerous consequences.
And that may leave you wondering about that grandmother, the only adult present that night. She pled guilty to a charge of hosting the party. She got 6 months probation and was fined $250, telling local reporters,
"It's a sad situation for all parties involved. You know, I trust the teenagers. That's my problem."
As for Savannah, when we last spoke to her before the plea deal, he had this to say about Cameron.
If you could say something to him right now, what would you say to him?
I forgive you.
You do?
Yes. Life's too short to harbor any pain and anger. My way of starting off closure is forgiving.
She is now on her way to college and says she hopes to inspire other young women who may have been sexually assaulted.
I used to think that I was weak, dramatic, too emotional, couldn't handle anything. And then going through this, I've realized how strong I really am and that I underestimated myself the whole time.
It's unprecedented. ABC News honored winner for the third straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence in television and radio. Every show, every screen, every platform. Honored. Thank you for making ABC News America's #1 news choice.
Next tonight, here, police accused of beating an innocent bystander by accident instead of the driver they were pursuing. ABC's Eva Pilgrim with their explanation tonight.
tonight, disturbing new video. A man escaping from a fiery car wreck, engulfed in flames, ripping off his clothes. Jersey City police approach, guns drawn. One officer kicks him, then another, before the group of officers drags him into the street. Police were in a high-speed chase, but the man they repeatedly kicked, 28-year-old Miguel Feliz, turns out was not the suspect they were pursuing. That man was 48-year-old Leo Pinkston. He had slammed into Feliz's car. A police union representative says the video shows the officers putting out the flames.
These did not look like helpful hands, and we'll go through the process for termination.
David Feliz, a young father, is in critical condition. Prosecutors are investigating possible criminal charges against the officers. David?
Eva, thank you.
First out the door when it matters most. From all across the globe to every corner here at home, he asks, he listens. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. David Muir, covering our world. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. More Americans are now watching World News Tonight than in a decade. And we thank you. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir. He reports to you. From staff.
Good morning, America.
To the king.
Good morning, America.
Everyone wants to say.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Oh, and can't forget Shaq.
I'm not as beautiful as the other hosts, but good morning, America.
You and I.
Go to bed.
You know what they did to Auckland?
Yes.
Do you know because you're one of them?
You should be down here.
Don't tell me where to go.
It's not safe. You listen to me.
Please don't tell me what to do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Travers. Welcome to Popcorn, where we tell you what's going on in the culture. And right now, I'm saying to you, you go on Hulu and you find A Handmaid's Tale, and you watch it. Okay, well, you can do it now. You can come back and join us later. Anyway, my guest, Elizabeth Moss, is she's always really good. In this one, there's something incredibly spectacular going on in it. So, Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you.
You. Did it feel good when you finished this, where you said, I think we got really close to what we wanted to do?
Yeah, it felt good earlier on after the first few episodes when we started to see them. Bruce and I and Warren, our Littlefield producer, executive producer, started kind of saying, I think we might have done it. I think we might have done what we wanted to do. And
it was a good feeling.
Yeah, it's better feeling than the opposite. Yeah.
And so you had all that. Well, explain to those poor benighted souls that may not know what A Handmaid's Tale is, and where it came from and who you're playing.
Okay, Handmaid's Tale is based on a Margaret Atwood book, one of our prolific authors, written in 1985. And the short way of saying it is it is a dystopian present, really, an alternate present about a totalitarian regime that takes over the American government and runs it as a theocracy. And
I don't know where anyone would come up with an idea.
I know, isn't it crazy? It's so far-fetched.
It really is.
It's tough to do something that has no relevance whatsoever. Yeah, it's tough. I have to really dig deep. And the women in that alternative present, our fertility is an all-time low. So all the women are rounded up, taken away from their families. Their children are taken away from them. They have them, and they're given to barren couples to basically breed for them. So it's a light comedy.
The thing is, there are parts of this that actually are really funny.
Yeah.
It's like a gallows humor.
Totally.
And the decision, as you as a producer as well, may be in on this, but the idea of having that voiceover of your character, so that we are actually wondering what's going on in your head while you're wearing that robe and being almost nun-like.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this. I'm so humble, and
Yeah.
I would never question a man
Never.
about effing anything.
You got it. That was Bruce Miller, our showrunner, and who had the writing room. That was the voiceover. That was all him, and it was a way of the book. It's first-person narrative, and it is so inside her head and so point of view from her point of view that it was his way of letting the audience into that and letting them have that experience. It was a way of adapting the book. So that people, because she's a character who can't speak in this patriarchy, can't speak her true feelings, can only say little sort of phrases and has to be really nice all the time. It was a way of letting us in, and that dark sense of humor is pure Margaret Atwood. I mean, that's in the book. You know, it's this gallows humor, and she herself is bitingly funny, Margaret Atwood, which I said to her once, and she was very surprised to hear it.
I'm not funny.
Yeah,
I'm not
I was
bitingly
like,
funny.
yeah, I was like, you're hilarious, and she was like confused.
What?
Yeah.
When were you shooting this? Was this before the election? When was this all taking place?
It was September of 2016 to February of 2017. So I signed on in April of 2016 and started with the producing part of it, and then we started shooting in September. So the election happened about episode 5 we were shooting.
So what were you all saying to each other?
You know, we were in Canada. Yeah. We were in Toronto. I know. No, it's funny because it just felt everybody wasn't funny in a Margaret Atwood way. It was very like as if it was a funeral. You got there the next morning. I worked the day after the election, and everybody was sort of like, "Are you okay? Can I get you some tea?" Also, what happened in your country? We were all like, "I don't know. We don't know. So sorry, but we might be staying here." Yeah, it was a really strange atmosphere the next day. It really was.
But what we're feeling when we're watching it is this assault, basically, on a woman's rights.
Yeah.
In every kind of way.
Possible way.
Saying, don't make any noise.
Yeah.
Don't do anything that might upset the patriarchy in any way, and we'll decide. I don't want to do spoilers, even though that book has been around for several years, but there's a scene, especially when you basically have to have sex with the guy you're working for, whose actual wife, sits there in bed.
It's called the ceremony, yeah.
And it's, I don't know, metaphorically and in every other way, it seems to be saying, look, this is her way of sharing the barren wife. But at the same time, it just demeans everybody.
Absolutely.
It's just...
I mean, we treated it as a sexual assault, you know, which it really is, because he's having sex with her against her will. So that's how we treated it, and with that sort of idea also of it being very clinical and very technical, and it's not supposed to be any love or sensuality whatsoever in it. It's a breathing process, and you know, it was something that was always a bit tough to shoot. You know?
No, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know two of the actors who are playing. They're the nicest people on earth. Joe Fiennes, who plays this guy, and Ann Dowd, who's basically just running around with a whip saying, you people, you can't act this way. You can't really do this. And I don't know how on a set when you're acting you say, you know, you're just horrible. You people, what? And then they're just these nice people.
I think that we really tried to sort of make them as layered as possible. You know, Joe, as you just said, is one of the nicest gentlemen, you know, and he has a family, and he's very respectful of women, and he's very intelligent, and we tried to make sure that the villains, quote unquote, in the show were layered and had their own story, and maybe even a certain light or a different world, had reasons for what they did, you know, and what they were doing. And I think, you know, as Bruce, our showrunner, says, the show is only as good as its villains. And I think it's very true. And so with Joe and Yvonne, who plays Serena, and Ann Dowd, who plays Aunt Lydia, it was very important to all of us to make sure that they were real people, you know, that they weren't one note. And I think that kind of gives this depth to the show that is really important to us.
And it's right to cast in, I think, an attractive actor, not somebody that just looks like you're being molested and abused by a monster. You know, there's a civilization layer to it to do that.
And that, part of that was also showing that everything looks great on the outside, you know, which my character talks about at some point. You have this beautiful New England landscape, you have beautiful homes, and you have this attractive couple that should have it all and look sort of perfect on the outside and are just absolutely miserable inside that house.
So you wanted to bring this bleak message to us all.
Yes. Yes. You're welcome.
It's okay. We just think it's even worse than we think it is now.
Exactly.
When we finish seeing this, we go, no, stop it. What can we do, Elizabeth? What can the world do about the society we live in where rights are taken away?
I mean, listen, I am, you know, I'm not a politician. I only have my personal feelings. But I did ask Margaret Atwood that exact question one day when we were doing an interview. I said, what can we do? And she said, you know, keep an eye on the Constitution. Obviously, when that flies out the window, which happens in the book, there's very little recourse. There's very little going back from that. And then she also talked about being active on a local level, you know, being involved in your Congress and making calls and not just waiting every 4 years for an election, but being involved on a quote unquote smaller scale, which is actually really important. That was the advice that she gave me. I mean, I think that there are so many people who believe in human rights, and it's just about being vocal about it.
So you're on a roll. Can you believe I was looking at something and it said that you began with Mad Men. That's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That you started that.
And that wasn't the beginning. I was on West Wing before that.
No, I know it wasn't your career, but that show that I did, that show was 10 years ago.
I know. I think it was like more than 10 years, honestly, when I started it. I think it was a little more than 10 years.
Maybe.
I was 23 when we made the pilot. I'm 34 now.
So now it's a couple of years over. So what?
Yeah.
Do you still think of it? Do you see these people? Do you say?
Occasionally. Everyone's sort of really busy, and I live in New York. Most people live in LA. But for me, honestly, I get bored really easily. So I am much more interested in moving on to new things, you know, and trying new things. I have that occupied such a huge part of my life that show will always be a part of me, and that character is just a part of me. It's 9 years of my life, you know, 23 to 32. It's also very formative years. So she'll always be a part of me, and I'll always be sort of really grateful for her. And at the same time, I don't like to live in the past. I like to move on and do new things and try new things. Otherwise, I'm just repeating myself.
Oh, well, you got to. You have no choice. Really.
Yeah.
They're not going to go back to Mad Men, just in case you were missing it. No, they're going to say no. I don't know. Allison Janney was here a couple of days ago.
Oh, cool.
And I was asking her about that, and they keep saying, she says people are always saying, is the West Wing coming back?
Yeah.
What would have happened to you, presidential daughter, you know, in the interim if that happened?
Gosh, I don't know. I like to think that she would have become a journalist or something, you know, not actually work in the White House or in the government, but become somebody that was involved in maybe politics, but as a reporter or a journalist or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do, yeah, because you want to think of her active.
Yeah,
in
she's so intelligent, far smarter than me.
It's very strange because that always helps. I don't believe you.
I only work with writers that are much smarter than me, so I look really smart.
Yeah. Sure, I have the answer.
Exactly.
It's all here for me.
I'm so
to do
intelligent.
this. Yeah. But you're not literally a child star. What's the first thing you did? Because she's a teenager in West Wing.
Yeah,
right? She's
17 to 23, I did West Wing. Yeah, I mean, I did commercials, and then I did
When did you begin to corrupt your life with acting?
So early.
Was it
so,
really?
So young. so young and so naive.
Really, did your parents scream and say no?
No, my parents are musicians, so everybody was like an artist in the family, and it wasn't unusual to go into something artistic for us. But I think I did a mini-series on TV called Lucky Chances with Sandra Bullock, and she played my mother. Yeah. And I had to find her dead.
I've got to find that.
Yeah.
Find her dead in the pool.
Yeah, I was like 6 or 7 years old. It really established the tone of the rest of my career, I feel.
You're Sunset Boulevard. Find her dead in the pool. Here's me, a young, impressionable girl just coming up in the world.
I really liked the dark material, I guess, even from a young age.
You know, you're a teenager, you're in the West Wing, you do Mad Men. You worked brilliantly with Jane Campion on Top of the Lake, and back to that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Second
interesting.
season
So do
coming
you feel from this vast experience in your young career, do you feel pressure as a woman? Do you find it tougher to do what you want to do? You're doing a lot of things.
Thank you.
You're working in the TV, you're doing movies, Alex Ross Perry, Listen Up Philip, and Queen, the queen of,
Thank you.
I've never seen anyone as mentally unstable.
I know.
As a character.
That was fun. That was really fun. I don't know if I feel a pressure. I feel grateful that I sort of had the opportunities. I also feel like I came up in a time when the industry was realizing that women make money, at the box office, that they make people watch TV, that if you put a woman in a film to lead a film, it will make money. You know what I mean? If you put 5 women in a film, it will make money. And same thing with television. And I came up in this time when women were like, there was incredible female roles happening on TV, and I was just kind of happened to be around at the right time. But I do think that, it's always important to kind of keep pushing that, keep making sure that our industry understands that that is something that we can do, that we can put women not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera, and give them those opportunities as well. Because, for me, I love working with men, I love working with women, but the statistics on it are shocking.
They really are.
Yeah.
And you have that here.
Yeah,
and
we've been really lucky. 4 out of our 5 directors on Handmaid's Tale were women. Then we had to hire a token male. Obviously we don't want to be sexist. Our token male was wonderful. Mike Barker, he directed 2 of some of my favorite episodes, 4 and 5, and he was incredible. But anyways, and then Reed, obviously, and Jane Campion. So for me, it's something that's really important.
All right, we end this show always in song.
Oh, that's right.
You did. So I don't know why you prepared for me today.
I forgot.
Oh, no, I just don't accept that. But
I really did, though.
A person who is having a good life now must have a song in her heart.
I didn't think of one.
Well, there has to be something.
Which one for you?
I don't know. I think when you think of The Handmaid's Tale, when Alfred is thinking of in her head, is she singing something?
Oh, I don't know if she's singing a lot.
Well, but
you know what? Actually, a beautiful moment from the show that is not a song that I sing, but a song that Madeline Brewer, who plays Janine, sings to her baby before she has to, the baby she's birthed, give the baby away, which breaks my heart to even say. And she sings a wonderful song that I'm not going to be able to sing more than one line, but it's
I need 2 lines. Come on.
I think it's, baby, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. And it breaks your heart when she sings it in the show and she's singing it to her baby.
Because it's not going to be all right.
It's not going to be all right, but that faith and hope and humanity is one of the driving forces of the show,
We'll be singing that in our heads.
I'll sing it.
And everything's going to be all right.
I'll do it, yeah. I like it. Thank you so much.
Always great to talk to you.
Always a pleasure.
People have spoken, and we thank you, America, for choosing us as your favorite daytime hosting team with the People's Choice Award. We are GMA, and we thank you. Okay, first the People's Choice Award for favorite team, then the Emmy Award for outstanding morning program. Yes, we're honored. Most importantly, we love starting our days together with you. Thanks for making GMA America's #1 most watched morning show.
Hey everybody, I'm Amna Navaz. Welcome to the next episode of Uncomfortable. The goal here, you guys know, is to have honest conversations about the issues that seem to be dividing America. So every week we try to have a special guest to try to break down some of those issues, find out not only what they believe, but why they believe what they do. With me this week, Matthew J. Dowd, ABC's chief political analyst, right?
Extra special guest.
Extra special guest. Self-defined extra special guest, I want to point out. We're going to talk politics. We should have a little moment of disclosure here. We work together.
Yes.
We've had a ton of fun over the last year. We covered a lot of the campaign together, 2016. You come on our live stream coverage all the time, which I anchor. You had me on your show, Straight Talk.
Yes.
Excellent show.
It's awesome to be
With
partners in all of this.
Anderson.
It's awesome to be partners in all of this.
Thank you so much for being here. 30 years in politics in your career, correct?
Yes, exactly.
I want to talk about how you even ended up in politics in the first place. We've talked a lot about how you grew up and where you grew up. Your story starts in Detroit.
Starts in Detroit, one of 11 children in an Irish Catholic family in Detroit. My father worked in the auto industry. I tell people that sometimes. I say one of 11 kids, Irish Catholic, and if they don't guess Catholic, they guess Mormon. Though if I told you the names of the kids, you would know right away. Mary, Patrick, Matthew, Mike, Dan, Paul, Kate, Kelly, Beth, John, Steve.
That's impressive.
Straight out of the Bible. Go find the names. And then they started repeating them. So it was like Matthew, John, which I have two gospels. I guess Mom thought I needed two. And then we have Patrick, then we have John Patrick, and then we have Kelly Marie, and then we have Mary Catherine. They started repeating names because we ran out along the way. So I grew up there.
Where are you in the lineup again?
Number 3. So I have an older brother and an older sister. And they talked politics. My mom and dad talked politics, but were never involved in any sort of formal way in anything like that. They got involved in charity groups and all that kind of stuff as we were growing up. But there was a single incident that happened with me that actually led me to where I am, which was Watergate. And when I was 12 years old, we used to go up to summer vacation up in northern Michigan. We'd drive up in 2 station wagons and go up and stay on one of the lakes. And when the Watergate hearings happened, I was 13 years old, 12 years old in the summer of 73. I got fascinated by it, and I watched them all day long. I was just fascinated by it. Everything about them. I can still remember back Sam Ervin was chair of one of the committees, and Howard Baker and John Dean. And watching that said, I want to be involved in this in some way. And it was the combination of here's a president who's being held accountable. You watch, obviously, the questions of the Constitution and how it's going to, how the checks and balances are going to work. But also 2 reporters who were dogged in that, and Woodward and Bernstein, who basically, over 2 years, sometimes successfully, sometimes very unsuccessfully at times, stayed on a story, and then it finally, obviously, a president had to resign for office.
Yeah.
So that whole combination thing, ever since then, I started getting involved in politics.
Which part of it was it that spoke to you, though? Like holding people in positions of power accountable, or just the power centers of it all, or drama? Like, what?
I think it was a combination of things. It was a combination of here's our U.S. Constitution being tested, and I was always interested in history and read a lot. So it was that. It was the humanness of everybody involved. Here's a guy at the height of his power, but was still incredibly insecure about it. He broke into Watergate in 1972 when he was going to win in a landslide. There was all of these things that he did along the crime wasn't as bad as the cover-up. And then the reporters actually getting interested in a story and working on a story and getting it out there serve the public interest. It's the entire combination, which had adrenaline rushes, obviously, for the people involved, but also people watching it. And so all of that, and I didn't actually know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it, but I knew I wanted to be in politics.
Was anyone else in your life, in your circles of like influence, did anyone go into politics? Was it a thing anyone did?
No, nobody in my family has ever even considered it. And my kids, my kids talk about it and all that, but they have no real interest. I mean, my family, brothers and sisters will talk about it with me, and they have opinions on different things. I mean, the interesting thing about the family is we represent America pretty well in a unit. My sister one time said, when somebody asked her, well, what's the family like? She said, you can go down to a New York subway stop and randomly pick 11 people. That would be our family. There's somebody that's unemployed, that's just getting out of something, somebody that's a doctor, somebody that's just got out of drug rehab. Whatever the story is, we got it.
Everyone went their own way.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think when you're one of 11 kids, I mean, part of it is it was great and it was exciting and we had our own family, but we all decided to sort of pursue other interests, and most of us wanted to get out and go somewhere. I mean, I remember when I was picking my school, I took a compass. This is, I guess, how it, angle or whatever.
This
you
is in
want
your compass? Is it like the mid-1800s when you were growing up?
This is the compass with the pencil and the point on it.
That kind of compass.
That kind of compass. And I drew a
compass.
circle around Detroit, and I drew it 600 miles because I thought it was more than a one-day drive. And I said, I'm going to go to school outside of that I get a scholarship to. And I did.
To get away from your
Just
family?
to get away. Just because you want to actually, there was so much, I mean, it was fun, but there was also incredible amounts of dysfunction and all of the things associated with it. And your ability to sort of create your own life in that environment is awful hard. And so I knew, as many of my brothers and sisters knew, that in order to sort of go out and create your life, you have to sort of leave. And we did.
What were you like as a kid? I'm just asking because I'm personally curious.
I was very, sort of happy, positive, optimistic. I was sort of, I guess every family sort of figure out who's in what and all of that. I was sort of considered the sort of leader / diplomat in the family. I would organize stuff in order to try to reduce the intensity in the family unit. And if somebody was upset, I would figure out a way to distract it so that with something going on. I remember organizing Summer Olympics among our own family in the neighborhood. I'd create medals.
Did you really?
Yes,
like arts and crafts?
Yes,
Make medals?
like we'd make medals, and then we'd have our own. And then we'd do real things like a 100-yard dash, but then we would do like swinging on a swing set. How far can you jump off the swing set? And you get like first you get gold, silver, bronze. I did all of that.
Were you competitive?
I was very competitive and very competitive with members of our family. And one of the things our parents pushed, they were both graduates of Jesuit school, University of Detroit's Jesuit school, and they both did very well in school. They really pushed academics and doing that in academics. I mean, they'd love you to get involved in sports, which many of us did, but they really pushed academics. And it was, you get home and I remember I came home with a report card once and I had 6 A's and 1 B. And the question I got asked is, how did you get the B?
So you go from this fun, big family in Detroit. You know you want to leave. You went to school in Missouri.
Louis, yeah.
Missouri, I think it's pronounced.
Missouri.
Yeah.
Different people pronounce it different, but I pronounce it Missouri.
Okay. Are we going to get backlash for that?
No backlash.
It's on you. He's at Matthew J. Dowd, in case you want to send in your comments. How did you first get into politics? Your first job was with
my first paid job. So I did a lot of volunteer work in high school. I'd volunteer for campaigns, and then I did some volunteer work in college. But my first real thing was I interned for Congressman Dick Gephardt in St. Louis.
Okay.
While I was in college, and I was in his district office, and I actually got to travel with him a good bit. And this was back in 1982 and 1983. And it was a great experience. He was a really good guy, and his wife Jane were really good people. And the funny thing is, he would talk in the car at the time about whether or not he wanted to run for president. I remember talking about this, or stay in the House and become Speaker, which is the route he wanted to take. And he ultimately decided that he didn't want to wait to be Speaker, and he ran for president 5 years later.
What was that like for you, though? I mean, this is when you're in college?
I'm in college.
And you're kind of in a seat of influence. You're talking to people who are considering these big things. Did that leave an impression on you?
Well, I grew up with my parents were constantly, my mom, I remember this, pushed this idea that she would say, I think it was a great lesson, and I kept carried it with me, and most of my brothers and sisters carry it with them, which is, you're no better than anybody else, and nobody else is better than you. So anybody that try to push themselves around thinking they're better than you because they have more money or more influence or more of that, they're not, but you're not better than anybody else if you gain those things. Mm-hmm. And I learned those lessons early on. I remember I used to caddy at a country club in Michigan, wealthy country club. Romney's father used to play golf at it. George Romney was governor. And I remember caddying for people, and these are all the pillars of the community. Right? Mm. These are all the people that were either ministers or the wealthy businessmen or politicians. And watching them conduct themselves on the golf course as I caddied, here's these people that would constantly criticize other people, like, why are those welfare people? Like, what are they doing? And they would cheat on the golf course. And it gave me a really interesting lesson in life. Like, everybody's flawed, and everybody has their things. And these people that hold these seats of power, don't just assume that they're acting in the best interest of somebody.
You went on to work for a Democratic senator from Texas.
Lloyd Benson,
right?
yes, who was running for re-election. I went to work for him in his campaign, and then he got picked to be the vice presidential nominee by Mike Dukakis in 1988, and I ran his joint campaign in Texas. There's an interesting law that was passed by Lyndon Baines Johnson when he ran for president the first time, and then vice president for Kennedy, under Kennedy, that he got a law passed that he could run for his re-election to his Senate seat and for president or vice president. In case he lost that, he could keep his seat.
Oh, man.
And Benson took advantage of that. Benson ended up losing the vice president, but he won his Senate race in Texas. So I did the joint campaign.
Were you aligning yourself? Did you self-identify as a Democrat then?
Well, both my parents were Republican, and so when I got to college, I started exploring other things and became more. Dick Keppert was a Democrat,
right.
and so I became more interested in that side of it, and then I did Democratic campaigns for 25-something years until I went to work for George W. Bush.
What was it about the party then? What was it about being a Democrat?
Well, it was less about the party and much more about I got to meet different candidates.
Yeah.
I volunteered on a campaign for a guy named Governor Teasdale in Missouri before I worked for Gephardt, a really decent guy. Missouri was always back then was a great microcosm of the country. It's like as if what was going on in Missouri was reflective of the country. Not so much anymore, but it was then. And then Gephardt, I really liked him. And so it was a series of individuals, actually, that I was attracted to, all Democratic in that. I was always, and I have been always, a view of tolerance, especially on social things. I mean, I have my own opinions, I have my own thoughts, being Catholic and all of those things, but I also think that we need to be we must be tolerant to people. I'm probably fiscally conservative. And so there were politicians on the Democratic side that fit that for a lengthy period of time. I mean, there were some Republicans that fit that. The problem today, as I'm sure we'll get into, is that place, which is where a majority of the country is, socially tolerant, but fiscally, let's be responsible with our money.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be a spot for people, which is a majority of the country.
Right. I'm asking about the alignment because you then went on to work for Republicans.
Yeah, I went to work for two Republicans. I tell people, two Republicans, George W. Bush and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and people say, "Well, you picked two doozies."
Well, and you, I mean, converted, I guess is the term, from one party to the next.
Yes.
It wasn't from a middle of the road. So why did you do that?
So I ran the campaign for a Democratic lieutenant governor of Texas. His name was Bob Bullock, great guy, old style politician. He's passed away now. And ran his first campaign in 90 and his re-election in 94. And that's when George W. Bush won for governor. And I got, and then Bullock ended up, got lieutenant governor, working with him. And I got attracted to him. Bush then I want to figure out a way to work across the aisle to do what's in the best interest of Texas. He had a Democratic speaker he had to work with and a Democratic lieutenant governor. And so Bush did a lot of things on education reform, on business reform, and all of that. But I thought, wow, this is somebody that actually could do, if he chose to run for president or chose to run for other national office, maybe actually to bring the country together. And I had gotten out of politics temporarily, I'd gotten out of politics and started a couple of businesses. He called, and Carl Rove called when I left one of the businesses. This was in '99, and said, "Would you willing to go to work for George Bush to run for president?" And I made a decision then I would.
Why was that?
I thought, here's a person, and I think many people were attracted to him. I thought, here's a guy that brought people together in Texas, bridged the divides, brought people out of the places, and was able to do it in the best interest and the common good of the state. I thought that's what we need in Washington, and that was my assumption. I liked him personally.
Yeah.
He's a really personable, he's a really good guy. But I thought, wow, if we could do this in Washington, we could solve a lot of the problems.
So you were you were senior strategist for the campaign.
Yeah,
in 2000.
I ran all his polling media in 2000, and then I was his chief strategist in 2004.
I'm curious, looking back now, how different was it back then to the way campaigns run now? Is it vastly different, or is it kind of the same in terms of the machinations and the process and all that?
It's same in elements, but it's speeded. It's increased in acceleration. And so we didn't have social media in 2000. Right. You didn't really start of really handheld devices really until 2004.
Yeah.
And it used to be you had time to make decisions and you could play these things out. That's changed. I mean, the speed at which and the introduction of all these different media. I mean, we didn't have podcasts.
Right.
The podcast didn't exist.
What a sad time.
I know.
Not a podcast around.
A desert of ideas. And that has changed the nature of the speed of it, and that's actually, I think, changed the nature of the ability to be thoughtful.
Well, so this brings me back to 2004, because a lot of people will point to that and say, like, a lot of things changed in how we run campaigns in that campaign, too. It was described back when we were reading some of the coverage at the time. Maybe this happens every election cycle. We talk about how divided the country is and how partisan things are. But the word Armageddon was used to describe 2004. It was like an Armageddon campaign. And things got nasty very early.
Well, it was, I mean, I think it's been every cycle it increases as the country tribalizes more. And as people say, if you're not on my team, then you're evil and everybody's good over here with wearing this jersey and everybody's bad over there that's wearing that jersey. Has existed, but it's increased and increased and increased. I think there were some things that 2004, it was the first time, and I was a big part of this, the first time big data was used in a campaign where you segmented people in these groupings to sort of make appeals to them. That was the first time. The Obama folks actually read it and talked to a bunch of us in 2008 to sort of learn what we did, and they took it further. And so all of those things, I think, have increased it. And I think campaigns fundamentally don't change society. Campaigns are a reflection of where society is heading. And I think as society has become more tribalized in how they communicate to each other and divided, then campaigns reflect that.
But campaigns also set a tone, right, for like the way that language is used, the things that become acceptable behavior and modes of interaction and discussion points and all those things. Like you can introduce language in a campaign that no one was talking about before, and suddenly, as we've seen in 2016, these are just phrases that everyone uses now, right, as policy proposals, everyday language. Campaigns carry a lot of weight.
Yes, they do. And the importance of that, sometimes when you're involved in a campaign, and then I'll say I'll cop to this, is that you don't often recognize what you're doing and what behavior it's normalizing or what you're doing in the country as a whole. And I will say that we should have been much more, in what I was involved in, I should have been much more cognizant of that, and I'm much more aware of that now, in that how you talk to each other and what you do in that campaign, you have an obligation. You should have an obligation to sort of say, I'm not going to use divisive language. I'm not going to do this because the country needs to be brought together.
Yeah.
And campaigns have contributed to that whole conversation, which has made it much harder to get to the common good.
In 2004, looking back now, I remember, and I was just a few years out of school and taking it in, I remember thinking, this is ugly. Your campaign deliberately cast a guy who was a legitimate Vietnam veteran as like a spineless, wimpy, medal-grabbing phony, right? And there was a very strong stance taken on gay marriage, on supporting a constitutional amendment.
So
basically to ban it, right? There were very divisive issues introduced. What I'm saying.
Yes, there were divisive messages introduced. There's myths that have arisen from that campaign. The first one is we would have conversations. This is interesting. We would have conversations around the table when the Democrats were going through the primary of who we thought would be best to run against. And people would make the argument they wanted to run. John Edwards was running at the time, and Howard Dean was running at the time. And all the people, sort of 7 or 8 of us that were in the middle of deciding what we were going to do, would make an argument that I constantly argued that I thought John Kerry would be the best to run against.
Meaning the most easy to beat.
Yes, I would say easy, but they give us a greater shot at winning. And I did that because, one, the best campaigns that are run are ones that if you take a coin, on one side of the coin are your strengths, and the opposite side of the coin are the opponent's weaknesses. It's best to run for your attributes, that if your opponent is the opposite of those attributes, it's a easy conversation to have with the American public. The campaigns that go awry are they say one thing about themselves and then some totally different about the others, and it's hard for the public to figure out what's going on. I thought Kerry provided that because Kerry, he was sort of this effete, sort of constantly talking about nuance and gray areas, which, as I have learned, life is all about nuances. And Bush was black and white. This is the way it is. This is how we're going to do it. It was a great contrast. And Kerry, the flip-flopper, right? Kerry would flip-flop on issues, and Bush was stern. He'd stick, and he'd stay with this. That's what I thought the contrast would do. Now, all the stuff related to his Vietnam record and all of that, which was done by third parties, and that wasn't done by our campaign.
But it was linked back to the campaign.
It was linked back to certain people. I'll tell you what, I made arguments within the campaign that we should never go there.
You did.
I didn't think it would have any effect, and I don't think it did have any effect in the campaign. I know there's myths arisen, Swift voted thing, that's what caused it. No, that's not what caused him to lose.
But you disagreed with it at the time?
I disagreed at the time, and the other thing I disagreed with was the whole idea of people putting initiatives and referendums on the ballot on gay marriage.
Yeah.
Because I thought most voters didn't care about those issues. They weren't going to motivate them. And they weren't going to motivate. What they cared about was national security. They cared about being strong in the military. And then all those attributes George Bush had, that's what they cared about. And when you look at the election results, the funny thing is those states that had referendums on the ballot on gay marriage, conservatives didn't vote in any higher percentages than the states that didn't have them on.
Yeah.
So it really didn't have an effect.
Not in the election, but on the way we talked about things. On sort of the things that became acceptable. I mean, the Constitutional Amendment was basically like adding discrimination to the Constitution. And it wasn't even necessarily a Republican Democratic thing, because even John Kerry at the time, right, did support gay marriage. I think he supported civil unions and state legislatures.
If you remember, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton didn't come along on this issue. Barack Obama had almost the exact same position as George Bush.
Right. Well, we forget the evolution on our
the speedy revolution.
Yes, on our stance on LGBTQ rights and same-sex marriage. That happened very quickly, but even at the time, I think most of the country supported gay rights, not necessarily same-sex marriage. It was a different time. However, the choice to come out and endorse that, say this is something we should be doing, even if you didn't agree with it, you were in the circles of power.
Yes, and it's easier, obviously, when you're in circles of power, and then when you're in those things, you don't necessarily agree with everything. You can be disillusioned by certain things.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I've written and talked about in the aftermath, and it's one of the things in the book that we talked about before we came on. That I talk about is that you say, okay, I like all these parts of it, but I don't like this, right? And it's a relationship that you have with a candidate, right? I remember my oldest sister is gay, right? And she, during the course of that campaign, I had a number of conversations with her, some of which that were very uncomfortable, because she was like, how can you work for this guy, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, that's not the reason why I support him. I support him for all these other things. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's a series of, you have to ask yourself, are the things that you don't agree with bigger than the things that you agree with, or what are you doing? And oftentimes you get in this conflict where you think, okay, if he can just get reelected. I remember having this own conversation in my head. If I can just get him reelected, he'll do all the things that I want him to do. That'll be great. He'll bring the country together. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way. I had a public break with him in that. But that's what happens in a campaign. It's like a relationship.
You did have a very public break, right?
Yes.
That disillusionment seemed to just continue to grow. Was there like a tipping point, or was it just an accumulation of things over time where you said this campaign this administration no longer speaks to me, I need to find a different way? I
think it was a combination of things. In all of the moments of truth, in all the ways to truth in our lives, they're not, Paul on the way to Damascus. You don't get struck by lightning and think, oh, now I know. There are a series of windows, right, that you see, and then you decide to walk them or not and see what's next. And I would say it's a series of windows and a combination of things. Leaving there, I went back to Texas right after the reelect. I mean, I put like GTT on my door, which used to be, it's an old saying that people that moved to Texas in the 1830s put on their doors in Tennessee, which meant if a neighbor came by, they wonder where they were, it would just say GTT, and it meant gone to Texas. And I put that on my door in the campaign office in Arlington, Virginia. I left the day after. I took time to myself and said, listen, I'm disappointed in this. I was disappointed in the whole response to the Abu Ghraib scandal, which I thought was mishandled.
You thought he should have.
I thought he should have fired
Donald.
I think he should Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah.
I thought he should have fired Donald Rumsfeld in that, and I advocated that position internally. But so I took time out and started reflecting on it, and then it was a disappointment, big disappointment, in that we didn't bring the country together. The country was now more polarized than less. That Iraq War, obviously, turned out to be a complete disaster and a fiasco, and I don't think it was done with the intent at the beginning, but it became a bad series of things along the way. And my oldest son enlisted and was going to be deployed to Iraq, and so all of those things, some personal, some professional, led me to sort of start the process of breaking.
Do you regret any of the things that you did or supported on the campaign?
I don't really have. I would say I would use the word. I mean, I know people think it's a nuance. Remorse. I probably have some remorse that I wish I would have spoken out sooner on certain things. But it's hard to say. I mean, all of us do the best we can in the moment in that we're in, and we reflect back on it, and that we had only had the capacity in that moment to do what we actually ended up doing. Mm-hmm. If I had sort of more thoughtfulness and more in that, I have some remorse that I wish I would have spoken out sooner in that. But when I did it, I was the first one. I was the first sort of insider to break with President Bush, and I lost a lot of friends, and I lost actually business in that time. So it probably could have been sooner, but I ended up doing it, I guess, on the best timeline that worked for me.
Politically now, you self-identify as independent?
Totally vehement independent.
Vehement
independent. I mean, I have friends, as you know, because we work together in the convention. I have friends on both the Democratic side and the Republican side that work on a lot of different things. And I think that there's many people have good intentions, but I think the system is broken, and I think we need a whole new way in the system.
Funny you should mention. I do want to talk about this because it's you've got some really important stuff in here. This is your new book.
Yes.
It's called A New Way.
Yes, available on Amazon.
Available on Amazon. Doing really well on Amazon.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
But you've got this mission now. You've talked about this. Even back in 2007, you talked about this, that you want to make effort to heal some of the fissures that you feel you may have been a part of. What do you mean by that?
Well, so I think in time of reflection, in time of discovery and all of that, and I went on this long spiritual retreat in the aftermath of all of these things, and then having lost a son and a daughter and all of the things happening in my life, I went on this retreat to the five major spiritual faiths, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and walked through various places in Turkey and India and Nepal and Israel and Rome, and then Assisi, where I ended up because St. Francis was a personal hero of mine. And in the course of that, one of the things you learn is that all of these things bind. There's certain elemental things that bind us all together. The fundamental tenets of these major spiritual thoughts are all similar, which is be part of something bigger than yourself. Different things. Somebody calls it Allah, somebody calls it God, whatever they call it. Be part of something bigger than yourself, and love one another. Yeah. Right.
Treat others as you'd like to be treated.
And so in all of that, I started to ask myself, what is it that I wasn't good about in that? And I grew up Catholic, and faith has always been an important part of for me. And what can I do? And so I started a process in my life, figuring, what can I do better? What can I do in the small circles of my life? What can I do better when I'm professionally? How do I treat somebody? What do I say? And all of that. And I've tried in all of that to sort of change the tenor in which I'll make jokes and do all sorts of things. But there's an acronym that I often use, and I remind myself. It's called THINK, right? And I remind myself before I go on air or whatever I happen to do, and I try to do this. Sometimes I fall down, but THINK stands for, is what I'm about to say true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? And if it's not those, then don't say it. If it's not true, if it's not helpful, it's not inspiring, it's not necessary, it's not kind, then don't say it. And I think part of this, and then there's part of this, is each of us treating others better. But also politically, I think we need more choices. And I think people are forced into these choices now today because of our system the way it is. We need to sort of push through and innovate the system in a way. Which is, I started this thing, country over party.
Yeah.
Putting your country over party. And you can be a Democrat or a Republican or an independent that puts country over party. Putting country ahead of your tribe.
Well, country over party is linked. You've started Listen to Us,
Listen
right?
to us.
And you're asking people to join. It's irrelevant of party there, right? But what is the goal? Is it just to kind of create community where everyone has that shared mission?
I feel it's a mission, and many times with a mission, you don't know exactly the end. You just sort of know that you need to start doing something differently and then watch it move organically. Mm-hmm. So right now it's built in a community of some thousands of people that have joined and been part of it and not talked to or communicate with. And then, I've gotten stickers that people can put on their vehicles or T-shirts, and
there's merch.
Yeah, well, and it's all, and it, just so everybody knows, the profits from any of this I do is only going to be used. It's not going to go in my bank account. It's going to be used to support the idea of changing our politics and changing the way we talk to each other.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know what fundamentally it will lead. But I know that I need to try to do something and see where it goes.
So how that change, that unifying, because I think everyone can agree. There's a lot of fissures that need to be healed. Does it have to be through politics, do you think?
No, absolutely not. And I think that's one of the things. Everybody tries to put everybody else in boxes, right? Well, it's got to be this or it's got to be that. I think actually politics are the outcome of our relationships, right? And politics is writ large what's going on in our relationships. Mm-hmm. So I think if somebody is a social entrepreneur in wherever, Toledo, Ohio, that wants to figure out a way to solve a housing problem, they're a person that can change what's going on. It's funny is that, Uber and Lyft didn't start with, let's start a rideshare association. He basically said, let's solve this problem, right? Let's solve this problem where people are frustrated with the industry and we want a better way. Or Airbnb or whatever, or start a foundation to help feed the homeless. In a community. I think all of those are political acts, and they're actually revolutionary acts because you're going against what the status quo is, and anybody that does. That's another thing that you learn about all these religious leaders. They were all revolutionaries because they stood up and said, this doesn't work. Yeah. And they were fighting a system that was trying to stop them.
And often seen as heretics in their own time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think it's politics that needs to change, but we all need to change.
What you mentioned in here, these are sort of lessons for leaders, right? Who is the intended audience for this? Is this like things people should be looking
for? Amna.
It's just for me.
It was written
a
for
personal letter.
It's complete Amna.
Matthew J.
It is. It's intended for anybody that wants to lead in some way in their life, right? And I think all of us, I think we often don't reflect on the power that we have for change. We often think, I got to get me a president, and they're going to fix the problem,
right?
And so,
because that's how our conversations go now. That's the highest office in the land. This is where the decisions are made. So much is put back to your original point and your early jobs. So much energy and
for local office and doing the things all the way up to the White House, right? And I've realized the greatest power that can exist. The greatest power that exists is locally. The greatest power is what we do in our neighborhoods, in our community. It's the greatest effect of change. And normally people in Washington, D.C., national leaders, they don't lead. They follow. And they follow where we want to take them. And the best leaders, if you look at the history of the country, the best leaders figure out where the country wants to go, and they try to get one half step in front of where they're going. Those are the best leaders. And then do it constructively. You find the change that will go about constructively. And so the audience for the book is anybody that has a desire to figure out a way to lead. But as I say, in the subtitle, it says embracing the paradox is we lead and serve.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to have leaders that are humble servant leaders. Their goal isn't just to hold an office. Their goal is to serve.
How do you want to lead?
You
run for office?
People have approached me. Democrats have approached me. Republicans have approached me. And independents have approached me. I've thought about it. I thought about it years ago when I came back to Texas. People again had asked me then. It wasn't the right time. I don't think that's really. I mean, I've considered it and will consider, but I don't think that's where my voice is best served. And all of us have to decide where our voices are best in that. It doesn't mean running for office, but if anybody listening wants to run for office, God bless you, and I hope you do, because I think we need a new brand of leaders. Or if you want to just help somebody run, or you want, as I say, start a social entrepreneurship in your community, whatever it is you want to do, figure out what's authentic to you. I don't know if that is, so the likelihood is very small that I would. It's sort of, how do I conduct myself in that? How do I treat people in that with respect and dignity? And calling people out. I mean, part of our jobs, as you know. So I think that there's many people that think, oh, Trump is the end of everything. He's here, and they hate him and all of that. I don't hate Donald Trump. I don't hate Hillary Clinton. But a push, we may have to push it, and I think that's part of our obligation is to help push that. So I'm actually really optimistic and hopeful. In this time, have to help organize it.
Matthew J. Dowd, ending Gandhi. I would not have called that back when we started the conversation.
No, there's so many leaders around the world that I think if people expose themselves to
another conversation we can save for a whole other podcast.
That'd be awesome.
Matthew J. Dowd, thank you so much. The new book, A New Way, is out now, and thank you for taking the time.
Great to be here. Always great to be with you, Amna.
Thanks. New episodes post every 2 weeks on Tuesday mornings. I'm Amna Nabaz. Thanks for listening.
Every screen, every platform. Honor. Thank you for making ABC News America's #1 news choice.
Planet that turns up out of nowhere and just happens to be perfect for us. This is a monumental risk, not worth taking.
I'm not committing to anything. I'm simply trying to navigate.
I'm Peter Travers. Welcome to Popcorn, where we tell you what's happening at the movies. And come on, is there any other movie for you to see now but Alien Covenant? The answer is no.
You kind of think, well, all right, I can't argue with that.
Well, that's worked.
I guess I should go ahead and change my name at this point.
Did you guys have schoolyard fights about stuff like this?
Well, we did have many schoolyard fights. I'm sure Crudup was a part of it now, and you're almost taller than me, but that's timeout. Go to your room.
Is that happened already?
It's unbelievable.
Good God.
It's like that tall.
It's just wrong.
Well, you have to stop some of like the creature shop and stuff, and the effects.
Oh, so cool because it's so disgusting.
It bought me 3 weeks.
And actually be acting in that. I'd be intimidated as hell to walk onto that.
Well, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to imagine much. It's all right there. And since we were creation of this world, it's like being a part of an art installation.
I've not done my due diligence, and I haven't even mentioned who you're playing. But you
a character who's going through that on a practical level while we're watching it, in a kind of metaphorical level, I thought was really interesting for me.
But I mean,
the moment came out, we fled in horror, and it stayed with us for a long time. It was probably 5 or 10 years before I could actually. And I was like, dude, I don't know if I'm gonna allow you to do that because I really don't want to stay up with you ever.
Yeah,
that's another one that's
everything was larger than it should be in life.
Well, okay, Peter. I mean, it's a lot of information.
It is. You had to
different penis sizes on a scale of 1 to 25. And when he told me they landed on 24, I thought, well, that's just that.
I remember seeing you in Pillow Man, where you're murdering children.
Well, I still contend it wasn't me, it was my brother, Peter. That's what
You were blaming your brother for everything. He said, you don't look Billy directly in the eye. And I'm doing it. And you in no way touch his hair.
Well, this is not my...
To your parents, because where were you? You were Long Island, but then you were in Florida
Dallas
and in
Florida,
Texas.
yeah.
So you come from nowhere.
No, New York is our home for sure. We've been, because Tommy and I moved here in 91. If you could start it there, that would be great.
I just kept thinking
we'll make a special one for
having a Billy Crudup film festival for your grandmother.
To see that.
Again, though, that's one of the great movies. If I'm going through that, Jesus' Son is one of those ones.
I was so proud to be a part of that.
Out of that where you say, that was an experience.
Gratitude, really, because if I had dreamed it up when I was in school, how Schuler Hensley and I doing Waiting for Godot and Harold Pinter play No Man's Land in repertory on Broadway.
Well, yeah, you
fired to something, son.
to be doing that.
Listen to Daddy. He's got to talk.
But what I was saying before, I'm serious about it. It's impossible to pigeonhole you into this one thing, which is when somebody wants to.
Well, I was taught that if you want to have a long career as an actor, you have to exploit the best opportunities that you get. And that's kind of my responsibility, is to take those chances while I get them, because there's going to be a certain point where obviously you won't have those kinds of. I acted in it with somebody that I went to drama school with, and she said, you know, this isn't a movie where we have a budget of much of anything, so we really can't pay you. And I said, the only thing I want is one of those
total
a lot
explanation,
of explaining,
which will go on for years and years after that. But again, when you do, last year we saw you're in 20th Century Women.
so well while I was playing that character. I was like, please, can I keep playing him
So
forever?
you're taking these parts home with you?
Well, you know what ends up happening is you trick your imagination for 12 hours during the day. There's just a little bit of residual.
Because I'm a critic, so my head is filled with different things. And so in that, you're kind of playing with her and she's playing with you.
When I grill her in a way, you know, or call into question her. And he was very shrewd, in addition to having her interested in figuring out what made her feelings. Like, you of course are correct. I play the scene.
It's great. Play it the way I told you to do it. Do it.
There was one moment at the beginning of it where...
A little bit of it.
Okay.
Something that's in your head to...
Do you mean to sing out loud?
Out loud, yeah. Well, you did it. I even saw you. It's appropriate even when it's not Christmas?
Well, it's not, but it was the only thing that I could remember. And so I would sing...
With the Tony. Hey, you've got to stop doing that. Really, thank you so much.
Peter, thank you.
Great to talk to you.
Pleasure to talk to you, sir.
And we thank you. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir. He reports to you. The people have spoken, and we thank you, America, for choosing us as your favorite daytime hosting team.
And he is riding high, like big smiles and back slaps in the Rose Garden high. But that high doesn't last long. On May 8th, Sally Yates testified a call with Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador to the U.S., in which they reportedly talked about sanctions back in December, before Trump was inaugurated, while Obama was still president. Not after Yates' testimony on May 9th, Trump fires FBI Director James Comey in a letter. Now, this is the man leading the investigation into the Trump campaign. On May 12th, Trump tweets a veiled threat to Comey, saying he'd better hope there are no tapes of their conversations. On May 15th, another bombshell report. Trump disclosed classified information to Russian assigns. On May 17th, the Department of Justice announces former FBI Director Robert Mueller has been appointed as special counsel with his own budget.
Honored. Thank you for making ABC News America's #1 news choice. Okay, first the People's Choice Award for favorite team, then the Emmy Award for...
Spanish? Waiting for me. Why was he waiting for me? Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Travers. Welcome to Popcorn, where we tell you what's happening at the movies. And there is no bigger movie right now than Pirates of the Caribbean. They don't have...
One of the, yeah.
That's
it. Maybe right up at the top with Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, and me.
Right there.
Yeah,
That's
right
the way
there.
it works. So, but now you seem to be working against it in this major way.
Which is not very, very difficult.
3 hours.
Yeah, which is not long for such a quality makeup.
I know, but what are you doing when they're putting that on?
It's bad. You go there at 5 o'clock in the morning. They give you that you can touch, and they're like, and then they paint on it. And of course, you go through every process. You go, you breathe. You try to go, like, find your man.
I've never seen anyone in any of the 5 Pirates of the Caribbean that looks as bad as you do. So congratulations.
Thank you
on
very
that.
much.
That's really something, because there's a lot of it. And we should explain that your character,
irreverent pirate kid, creates this curse on him and betrays him in a way. And then it will always be obscured by the makeup. And that's not the case. They did a great job in it.
So the attraction, besides being able to look really, really bad, I mean, you had a bad haircut in No...
Now we have to turn the boat, and they have to turn for light purposes. It will take like 5 hours. And you go, okay, what do I do with this for 5 hours?
One of your classic villains. But when I look at you, of course, I think of Before Night Falls or Beautiful or The Sea Inside. There's such warmth. You mix it up on people, but people love...
In the audiences, that's why in a lot of people's minds is like the actor who plays villains. But it's only been 3 of them since to you as an actor say, okay, but there's a person behind all of this that really needs to accomplish something. And in this case, it's 6 years old. My mother sneaked me in the theater. And of course, they told my mom, this is not a movie for kids. but my mom was doing a theater play out of Madrid where we were living, and Johnny Depp's performances. And I think what he did with Jack Sparrow is iconic. So when he will become him, if you are working.
Yeah, they have, the director has
Exactly.
to say, Javier,
Yeah, cut.
you know,
Come on, say your lines.
You can't be that excited. You're about to kill him,
Exactly.
or you're going to try. I want to bring that up when you bring up Skyfall.
Loving figure of
Sure,
a villain.
right.
Yes, of course I saw all the James Bond by Roger Moore.
What's going through your head? I can do that? I want
to. My grandparents were actors. I know to distinguish what is real and what is not. When you're a kid, you can barely distinguish one from the other. I did. When in school, you have to go through that. Well, so that's work.
It's not heavy lifting, but it can be emotionally that
It's
way.
not brain surgery, but you have to
Do it. Now it's official that you will be in The Bride of Frankenstein. I didn't see you as the bride. I never did.
I tried. Never exactly seen Nosferatu. And I was very young as well, of course. And that had an impression on me. That,
I think, you know,
I'm not with a net.
with a net on it.
And actually, the last day of shooting, I had to take an elevator to go to, I don't know what.
Great humanitarian.
Yes.
Yeah. Here he is.
Exactly. Escobar is a role that I've tried to play, and I've been looking to play since 2000. When the first offered on the journalist, Virginia Vallejo, who was very important in his life as a lover, and also as a person who taught him how to...
Really serious political climate, terrorism. We can't turn around where we don't see that.
Yeah.
What is, because a Pirates movie is an escape from...
It's not a little thing. It's a good thing for people that wants to really sit down and have a break. And you just plainly enjoy it.
So I think it's a really great balance for you to be able to do both.
Yeah.
To be able to seriously approach one.
For their own sake. I mean,
they're very young. They have to tolerate it.
Like, exactly. They're forced to tolerate it. I am the father.
Yeah. Later, when they're teenagers, they won't listen.
Exactly.
We get, well, soon you'll be knowing what Frankenstein's listening to.
Exactly.
On his earbuds.
What music would he listen to?
I wonder what he would if he...
It's unprecedented. ABC
bike through his neighborhood to meet a friend.
I was going to see if my friend Elliot can play. He's one of my best friends.
But what happens when he gets to the home and sees this U.S. flag is what's warming the hearts of millions of Americans.
From all across the globe to every corner here at home, he asks, he listens. For more than a decade, he's been right there. Everyone wants to say,
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Oh, and can't forget Shaq.
Engaged in a hearing that captivated the nation and set the scene for the investigation that will likely plague the administration for months, if not years to come.
James Comey.
Director Comey, you're now under oath.
For the first time since he was fired, giving his views on the investigation he led into
array, that it was poorly led, that the workforce had lost confidence in its leader. Those were lies, plain and simple.
Comey made it clear that, as he sees it, the president's goal...
This morning, the line so long it snaked through two separate Senate buildings.
Perhaps the biggest question that they were dealing with today was there obstruction of... He says the president privately asked him to go easy on Flynn.
I took it as a direction. I mean, this is the president of the United States. With me alone,
works.
The statue of justice has a blindfold on because you're not supposed to be peeking out to see whether your patron is pleased or not with what you're doing. It should be about the facts and the law.
Comey detailed his growing unease with the president. Comey invited himself.
A dinner was arranged. I think he asked for the dinner.
Did you in any way initiate that dinner?
He called me out. Tapes, I hope there are tapes.
Today, Comey insisted he's not worried any tapes would contradict him.
The president surely knows whether he taped me, and if he did, my feelings aren't hurt. Release all the tapes. I'm good with
us from this righteous cause to try to stop all of you.
The president did not concede an inch whether what the president did was illegal.
Do you believe this will rise to obstruction of justice?
I don't know. That's Bob Mueller's job to sort that out.
Bob Mueller is Comey's predecessor as FBI director.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm Mark Kasowitz, President Trump's personal lawyer.
Today, the president's own lawyer took Comey to task.
The president was not under investigation as part of any probe into Russian interference.
Comey did admit he reassured the president at least 3 separate times that he personally...
An investigation focused on President Trump. But that's a question that'll be answered by the investigation, I think.
For his part, House Speaker...
Are exactly thinking this is mission accomplished beyond their sort of wildest expectations. Not only did they influence the election in the way that they intended.
This award for favorite team, then the Emmy Award for outstanding morning program. Yes, we're honored, and most importantly, we love starting our days together with you.
Possibly see any of these foolish films.
You're just doling out your stars
Where's my
as
R?
you see fit.
That's it.
Yeah.
I just say what it is.
I'm the everyman.
You are heating themselves
There are a
too
lot
many.
of sequels.
And they can't. People are saying, do I want to see the 5th version of Transformers?
Right.
Do I have it in me?
Of the Galaxy, Volume 2.
It's practically new.
Right? First of all, I really like the first one, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love these kind of movies, but I really appreciate it. I like
At the calendar for summer. Summer begins May 5th when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 opened. It made money.
not accurate, but okay.
Everything.
Yeah.
And
It's more of the same. So if you like the first one, you like the second one.
yeah. So, but if you're looking for originality, it's not going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Baywatch is a movie, by the way. I know. So I knew it was coming.
Popcorn. Take a vat of popcorn. I sit there. I'm disgusting with it. I have it slathered with butter. I put M&Ms on top of it.
On your popcorn?
My popcorn. It's a big new thing. People, big new thing. There's something out there.
He's
he was
funny,
that
you
good.
think?
He is. And 10 or 15 minutes is a pretty good average in most summer
So
movies.
it's, first of all, I love the synopsis.
I'm going to say this.
Uh-oh.
No, we critics who have seen something early aren't allowed to say much, you know, so they say you have to wait till it opens.
Because when is it out? June 2nd.
June
it's out.
2nd, which
Okay.
is only
By the way, you saying do. Dude, Despicable Me 3. I love these films.
Well, they're
though.
great.
They can make as many as they want.
I
This is
say
serious.
that
Tell me about the Minions.
it's going to make a pile. It is.
Spider-Man. First of all, how many Spider-Men have, I couldn't even remember. How many have there been? There's been like at least.
Fortune to get the rights again.
So they're just cranking them out?
So they're cranking them out. But this kid, Tom Holland, who was in the last Avengers movie as Spider-Man, The Rock kept calling Zac Efron names like of boy band names. He would say, hey, you Bieber. Hey, you High School Musical. You know?
Apes are forced into a deadly conflict with an army of humans led by a ruthless colonel, played by Woody Harrelson.
He was ruthless.
He was
very
ruthless.
Yes. He's a character out of nothing except his whole voice and posture and movements. And this one is probably the most...
Atomic Blonde. She has equal parts spycraft, sensuality, and savagery, which is also on your business cards, right?
Exactly. It was copied. I'm suing. This is just wrong. Charlize doesn't.
Okay.
She kicks
It's
butt.
dark.
It's dark, and she is R-rated. This is a tough one. But I've got to tell you, if you love her, this is going to just make... Public now wants to see everything 14 hours long. They don't. We want to binge watch everything.
That's what we want.
A 2-hour movie is not what we want anymore.
I need a reason.
The second one.
Arr.
I think basically Michael Bay, who directs these, is the most cynical person in Hollywood. He says, people will buy anything Transformers buy, but my guess is no.